Alright, listen up here, you dirt sucking. I'm just kidding, guys. I will not be yelling at you like Drill Sergeant Hartman during this review. My name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and it's my job on this channel to point you guys in the direction of movies worth checking out. So that interests you, definitely hit like and subscribe. And today I'm here to tell you if Full Metal Jacket is still worth a watch today. So in Full Metal Jacket, we have a movie consisting of what feels like two mini-movies, with the first half of the film taking place in the Marine Corps boot camp on Parris Island, South Carolina, and the other half in Vietnam with the Stars and Stripes, the military newspaper. As for the story, I can't really go into it too deeply for both sections if I want to avoid spoilers, but I can give you a quick rundown of the characters we interact with the most. So by far the most memorable character in the movie is Drill Instructor Hartman, played by real-life former drill instructor Lee Ermey. The recruit we see the most is Private Joker, played by Matthew Modine. And rounding out the main cast is Vincent D'Onofrio as Private Pile, Adam Baldwin as Animal Mother, Dorian Harewood as 8-Ball, Kevin Major Howard as Rafterman, and Arliss Howard as Private Cowboy, just to name a few. And through these characters' eyes, through boot camp and in Vietnam, we see the dehumanizing effects of war. So is Full Metal Jacket still worth a watch today? I would say absolutely. This movie floored me. And that's what I love about going back to a movie that is so well known as Full Metal Jacket, and it's a movie that I had never seen before, and it impacts me more than maybe I'd say 75% of the movies that are coming out in theaters nowadays. Because this movie, it's not your typical war film, right? When you think about war movies, you think about films like Hacksaw Ridge or Saving Private Ryan, where there's just so much bloodshed and carnage. And while, yes, it's in this movie, it's definitely not up to those levels. This is more of a movie to show how the military and how war in general, they don't breed better men, they breed psychopathic killers, right? This is not a very heroic movie, right? This isn't about the one guy who'll come in and save the day. You know, he's the true American hero. You don't really get too attached to any one particular character really that much. I know maybe Private Joker might be our main character, you know, this guy, but we don't really get to know him on a real heroic Hollywood star, main character action movie type of way. This is more about the psyche of someone who goes through war and how people who go to war really lose their humanity. And now I'm not trying to get political with you guys. I'm not trying to say, you know, is this military complex right or wrong. I'm just talking about what is shown in this movie. So don't give me all this political comment in the comment section. This is just the movie. So with that as the main focus of this movie, I'm glad that Stanley Kubrick made this movie, because he is the master at just letting you sit with an uncomfortable feeling. And I noticed that right from the very beginning, because as soon as this film starts, you see all the recruits have a full set of hair, and then they shave it all off. And you see every single actor shave their entire head, right? You only got one take at it, right? So I was just thinking from a filmmaking standpoint, like, you better not fuck up that take. But it's just really uncomfortable. I don't know, maybe it's just because I really like my hair and I don't want to shave it off, but just seeing all those characters shave off their heads, one, it's uncomfortable to watch, but two, it just shows you that now they are no longer a person. They are no longer going to be a human. They are now going to be part of the system. They are going to be a killing machine for the Marines. They are directly stripped of their personality, so much so that we don't actually refer to these characters as their real names, right? Like, we learn that Private Pile's name is Lawrence, but we don't really call him Lawrence throughout the rest of the movie. We call him Private Pile. We call him Private Joker. We call him Private Cowboy. Everyone has a nickname given to them by the system. I'm going to say the system, but I'm talking about the Marine Corps. And who's to instill that new belief in them? Hartman. Drill Instructor Hartman. The most modern day equivalent I can think of for his character is J.K. Simmons' character, Fletcher in Whiplash, just because, you know, you hate the guy. He is a complete asshole, and he is just screaming in your face, and you hate him. But what a performance. What a performance. And you know what? You hate him as a character, but you can't stop watching him when he's on screen. He steals every single scene, and by far, he is the most memorable character in this movie. And with his just harsh teaching techniques, the boys are stripped of their dignity, their humanity, and their morality, right? And so much so that they even sexualize violence. You know, there's a scene where they talk about how, okay, every single Marine has to have a rifle, and you will make love to your rifle. You will name it a girl's name, and that is going to be the only pussy you're ever gonna get, right? So now, killing is now sexualized. These men are now getting turned on by the thought of killing, right? And they make that joke later on in the movie. I just wanted to be the first boy on my block to get a confirmed kill in Vietnam. It's fucked up when you think about it. So much so that even in Vietnam, right, they're talking to prostitutes and they're talking about rape and all these things, and they might not be talking about rape specifically, but, you know, it's a very obvious overtone that these men have completely lost their morality. So not only is Stanley Kubrick's direction really focused on the real message of the movie, but the cinematography really shines through also in making you feel extremely uncomfortable and really see the psychological horrors of war. Now, in film school we talked about the invisible director, meaning that when you're watching a movie, you know, your sight and your sound, those two senses, are just completely immersed what's happening on screen. And then your emotions and your thoughts are just drawn to the screen and you're totally immersed in the story, so much so that you don't really notice the camera placements, you don't really notice the shots, you know, the placement of actors. You're just along for the ride, you're in the story. But Stanley Kubrick, at least for me, he is not an invisible director. You can clearly see that, okay, Stanley Kubrick has his hands all over this. So much so that there's very few cuts, right? If there's an uncomfortable emotion on screen, he'll stick on it. He won't cut away. He'll say, okay, you see what's happening? All right, I'm gonna let you sit with it. And it really sinks in. The amount of cuts in this movie, it's not as, you know, fast cut as something like Hacksaw Ridge, right? It's not really like a bloodshed kind of movie. This is more about the psychological horrors of war, and the long shots really make you feel that. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, really is. And he breaks the invisible eye line, right? I mean, if you have two characters talking to each other, you're gonna have the camera, you know, on this side of them so that the geography of the scene doesn't, you know, get all jumbled in your brain. But Stanley Kubrick will deliberately put the camera on the other side, which is a big no-no in film school terms, but he breaks the rules because he wants you to feel at unease. And you might not really notice it, it's really subtle, but you're like, that shot and that cut, it feels kind of jarring, right? But that matches the situation that these Marines are in. And of course, when you see those long shots of all the soldiers in formation, it just really hammers home the fact that these are not human beings anymore. They are just cogs in a major system. And the set pieces are not really over the top, right? There's not one giant action scene. There is an action scene in the movie, but it's extremely well staged, and the focus is on the psyche, not on the bloodshed, not on the violence. It's what the violence does to a person. And the one character that's really personified in is Private Joker. He has a helmet that says "Born to Kill" on it, but he walks around with a peace symbol. So he's the one that kind of has his humanity still intact just a little bit, and you see it kind of diminish throughout the film, right? You know that he's been going through Marine Corps training, and he's been demoralized, and he's been dehumanized, and he's born to kill, right? He has been trained to become a killing machine, but he still has that little bit of morality with a peace symbol. And, you know, he's disgusted at the soldiers for trying to kill women and children, but yet he'll partake in the prostitution buying and trying to, you know, lower the prices for the rates of having sex with this woman. So again, it just shows that it's a real gray area, and war really fucks you up in the brain. And overall, I thought this movie was absolutely brilliant. I'm still thinking about this movie days and days and days after I've seen it, and I can say that that doesn't normally happen very much anymore. You know, especially with the newer movies. You go to the theater, you drive home, and then you don't think about the movie anymore, right? You just forget about it within a day. You're like, okay, that was kind of entertaining, you know, that entertained me for 2 hours. A film like Full Metal Jacket impacted me in a way that I did not expect it to. And for that, yes, I'm going to give Full Metal Jacket a 5 out of 5. I really love this movie. From my film school brain, I can really see the masterwork of Stanley Kubrick, but just sitting back and enjoying it, I can really see that the dehumanization of war is a great focus for a movie like this. Add those two together, and I love this movie. So anyways, guys, tell me down in the comment section down below, what is your favorite Vietnam War film, and what is your favorite Stanley Kubrick movie? Whatever they are, I'd love to know. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see more videos just like this, definitely hit like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. See you soon.